Welcome to Unity Through Diversity. I am your host, Gina Anayana. Unity Through Diversity is a podcast where we acknowledge and celebrate individuals' unique soul gifts through each guest's personal story in order to empower and encourage you to recognize and reclaim the uniqueness in your own soul frequencies. So we, as a collective, can truly embrace unity through diversity in our life. Enjoy the podcast.
Mr. Domingo.
Hi.
Great to see you again.
It's always good to see you. Yes, thank you.
How have you been?
I have been very busy, thankfully, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm very excited about your podcast.
Yeah, thank you. You are actually, when I want to start this project, you are the first person popping in my mind because how long I know you? Over a year?
Yeah, Gina, probably a year and a half. Well,
yeah.
probably 2 years already.
It's
Yes.
2 years?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's already been 2 years, maybe even starting to approach a little over 2 years.
Because Balin start when
That's right.
Balin start school. Yes. But
That's right.
I feel like officially I know you is from last year when
Yes.
I decided to bring both girls to have your music lessons.
Yes.
So that's almost a year.
Almost a year, yes.
And also, okay, will you tell my audience or my listeners about like your name and what do you do?
Yeah.
Because let's start from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Again, thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited. My name is Domingo Vasquez, and I am the owner and manager of Musical Lessons, LLC.
Okay.
And so we provide specialized musical training for children and adults. And so we provide lessons for typical children and also children with special needs, and also typical adults and adults that may have also special needs too. We specialize in our keyboard system, musical keyboard organ, but we also offer vocal lessons, vocal training. Guitar is very popular.
Okay.
Ukulele, bass, beginner and intermediate drums, and also one of our specialties, which I love to be part of, is song development. So music theory, how do songs get built? How do scales and chords go together? I love that. That's my favorite.
Okay. Because you mentioned that you also do the kids, also do like adults. So will you tell us a little bit more? Like, how old is your youngest student, and maybe the oldest one? And you also mentioned about special needs, like what type of a special needs, because we know music is really powerful, right?
Yes.
We can heal people a different way. So will you tell us a little bit more about the age group and what type of special needs group that you specialize in?
Absolutely, yes. So my youngest student currently right now is 3 years old. And so we're able to start as young as 2, but I'm convinced that we could start at 1 year old. Obviously, the parents will be involved.
Yeah.
But we believe that our specialized training can start children as young as 1 to begin to develop lots of skills. So oldest student right now, I would say almost 70.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
And I have had students in their 80s as well. But so we have humans from all ages. I believe you could teach animals probably music too, right? That's why I had to save humans because.
Well, yeah, I bet certain animals, but
Yeah.
let's talk about the humans, right?
We'll stick with humans, right?
Yes. And also the special needs, like I know that you certain group of the special needs kids that you've been putting a lot of time into it. So would you tell us a little bit more about that?
I will, and I can tell you kind of how we started because this company was formed in 2005. We officially started Musico and started on our journey with color keyboard music systems and specialized lessons training. In 2015, we became involved with Saginaw Valley State University, and specifically the OT department, so occupational therapy, and just by being blessed and by, I believe, working hard and having the right people at the right time, and we got a spot to do a research project with occupational therapy for children with autism. That started a whole nother road, a whole nother journey that we'd been on already. So from that point on, we just became a lot more passionate after meeting families, talking with professors, talking with doctors, and a lot of occupational therapists, we started to see the huge need that people need something else on the table to help them develop certain skills, like left and right hand coordination, small motor skills, language development, math skills. All these kind of cool things start coming out of these music lessons. So, of course, we became ignited ourselves. We started to head down this road, and so we found that there's a lot of different special needs out there. There's emotional special needs. There's a huge growing autism. 1 out of 46, I believe, was the last figure I heard, of children born in the United States right now has autism.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a very high percentage, is it?
That's a very high percentage. So that's too high. One child being born, so we're faced with like an epidemic, along with social challenges right now of people connecting face to face, children knowing how to get along with other children, adults learning how to get along with other adults.
Yes, we're still learning, right?
Yes, that's why I said we have clients that are adults and they are learning skills like patience, like teamwork, and we're putting together something right now that will be used for corporate team building skills.
Wow.
So we've been approached by a couple local businesses that said they would be interested to try out some of our sessions to build team skills in their corporate office.
Wow, that's awesome. So back to 2005, right?
Yes.
You said
Yes.
this company started 2005.
Yes.
So that was like 15 years ago.
Yes.
So my question here is, how did you, at the first place, discover this coloring system, and what draw you to this special system that we are still using after 15 years, and which benefited so many young kids and adults, also special needs group people as well.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good question, because I had to come to a place in myself to discover what was this vision, let's just say. And as an entrepreneur yourself,
Yeah.
there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of struggles, there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of things to overcome before you even start a business. And so I did some soul searching, because I didn't feel like I was finding my place in the world. Everything that I was trying, I felt that I could learn and I was pretty good at, but it wasn't fulfilling. And I didn't feel like I had enough say-so in it. And I said, well, in this world, you either work for someone else or you have your own business. So I said, I want to start my own business. And I did some deep soul searching. And there's a lot of darkness and a lot of light during that time. It's very tumultuous, and it's it's like a storm that opens up, and then there's a rainbow and there's a cloud. So from this very wild experience, out came musical color keyboard. Okay. So so the passion, the dream, and the vision was born out of that. And so since then, I just began to give it the big push, I call it. In the beginning of a business, there's always what's called the big push, where it's a lot of energy. It's like when a rocket from NASA leaves the Earth, most of the fuel is spent escaping the gravity of the planet.
Yes. Once you take off, right?
And it's a very violent experience. It's a huge push of energy, and it takes this to launch a business, and especially in this current business environment that we're living in. A lot of things are shifting. So I've never stopped pushing, thank God, because
never stop.
I felt like the only thing that guarantees you will fail is if you stop trying. That's it.
Yes.
So I've had a lot of encouragement throughout the years, and which is why I believe our paths crossed, because you naturally want to encourage people, and you're on a very passionate journey, and this is why your podcast has been born. Yeah. And I'm so thankful that you chose me to be on this, because this is so cool. But yeah, don't let me get too far away from the questions, because this is so exciting. But yeah, so since 2005, really at the SVSU research project, which took 2 years to complete, I was able to get to know a lot of occupational therapists, professors, like I was saying, a lot of friends and families who are dealing with this on a daily basis. And that really the need that I discovered was there.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I had the power to do something about it, so I
Yes.
just started to do it. I just started to connect with local autism centers, families who have children with autism, local schools, discovering that there's a huge need in the schools, and which also opened up doors for Musical to take color keyboard sessions into schools.
Yes.
So from preschool all the way to 12th grade, we've been able to service some schools in the area and have tremendous results. Lots of team building skills, lots of
Right.
left and right hand coordination things going on, but a whole lot of smiles, a whole lot of feeling good and a whole lot of feeling happy, and that's what we want. So we want to help to heal the world and bring people together through music.
We are healing each other and healing ourselves and heal the world.
Yeah.
I want to bring the story a little bit back because now we are talking about the company started from 2005.
Yes.
But we want to know, or I want our audience to also know, it's like before 2005, I know you have been probably studying music. Since when, and what did you do before you start a company? Because,
Yes.
2005 is a big turning point, right?
Yes.
But what has happened before that? It's kind of
Yes.
always interesting to know, right?
Yes.
So,
Okay. So turning back the history pages,
yes,
right?
we go
Yes.
backwards. We not start from you're born. We start from right now and then go backwards.
Well, I can tell you a cool
Okay.
story. Well, first of all, I come from a musical family.
Okay.
But music was kind of complicated as it becomes in families. Sometimes they don't want you to play music. I don't know why.
Well, maybe they don't make enough money.
Right. Well, and it's really fear, isn't it?
Yes.
So sometimes
Yes.
people are just controlled by fear and they don't want to question, and they just said that's the way it is. Don't open the door. Right.
Yeah, because they did not, they did not achieve the destination or the goal they wanted for themselves. So they are afraid that their kids gonna follow the same path. But sometimes we cannot worry too much about our kids because they are choose their own path and they are
Yes.
different than ourselves. So what we
Absolutely.
didn't achieve, maybe they can achieve different way.
Absolutely, Tina. Yeah. You are dead on. That's what I've gathered over the years. It's like I've seen these reasons, and again, based out of fear, people will make terrible decisions, and they won't allow other people to learn, and experience things. But having a musical influence in and out in our family, there was definitely a love for music. So we had a variety of music growing up, listening all the way from disco music to rock and roll to blues to classical to culture music like Spanish and like other languages, French.
Talking about Spanish, I have to cut you here a little bit.
Yeah.
So I know your family is from Mexico, right?
Yes.
So will you tell us like when did they come here? And now it's be understanding like why is the music probably already in the family because
Yes.
where you come from, right?
Yes.
Like your background, your culture, or your parents or grandparents. So will you
Yes.
tell us a little bit more about
I sure
the
will.
family?
Yeah. And thank God they brought over this culture, because in the culture of Mexico and a lot of other Latin American cultures, and I'm sure all over the world, singing is just part of a normal activity.
Yes.
It's something people do when they're making bread or when they're cleaning the house.
Part of life.
It's part of life.
Yeah.
It's communicating. You sing to each other, and there's no expectations of you're not a great singer, so don't sing. It's just you're just singing. And
Yes.
so I used to see my grandfathers and grandmothers just singing around the house.
Mm-hmm.
And
beautiful.
and they just worked it in. And my grandfather happened to also love big band swing from the 1940s. So I remember hanging out with him, and he just had the floor stereo just as loud as it can go. We were listening to Benny Goodman and Artie Shaw and all these amazing musicians, and just enjoying it. And so I'm glad they brought that culture of, hey, there's no big expectations.
So your
on it.
grandparents came here first to the United States?
My grandfather was from Mexico. My
Okay.
grandmother born in the United States.
Okay.
And my grandfather was very poor. And both of his parents passed away when he was very young. So he was raised by an uncle on a farm.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he walked to the United States and raised a family. One
Walk
job.
to the United States. What do you mean walk to the
He
United
just
States?
walked right from
Cross the
yes,
border?
from the Sierra Mountains, right where he was living in the mountains. He grew up in the mountains.
Uh-huh.
and just walked into Texas.
Are you serious? You're not
Yes.
joking?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I just walked in, started getting jobs, and met my grandmother working, and they migrated all the way up to the north where he got a job in Bay City, Michigan.
Oh my.
Yeah, which has
Wow.
got to be 10, 15 miles from here. And he would walk to work. He didn't have a license.
Mm-hmm.
So my grandmother would get up at 3 and make him food to go and something to eat. He'd get up at 4 and walk and be to work by 9.
Wow.
And he did that for an entire year before he met somebody who said, hey, I'm going by the same way. We can carpool.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was never late and never missed one day of work in his whole life.
That make me feel we are like now like every morning we just hop in our car and still complain the traffic and
Yes.
complain how hot it is in the car.
Yeah.
When we think about the people what like your grandfather, it's just
Yes.
make me cry. It's because that's the motivation. They
Yeah.
know that they need to get there. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna drive there, bike there, or I'm gonna walk there.
Right.
Right?
That's right.
And that time is not like the time we have here. We always say we don't have time.
Yeah.
Actually, we just rush
Yes.
to do things.
That's right. And it's good to know, and I, in a sense, I feel obligated to try even harder because to know how brave they were and how
Yes.
brave, like you, to leave a country you were born in, familiar with, and go to an entirely new place takes a lot of courage and
Yes.
it takes vision, but a lot of courage, and you have to squish fear every day, and so that's inspiring to me. And so I feel an extra, not a burden, but an extra, I don't know, an extra charge from my
Because
ancestors.
you see, your ancestors, you feel this maybe give you power, actually.
Yes.
Give you a little bit more feels like, hey, you're
Yes.
not working just for yourself.
That's right.
This is the ancestral,
That's right.
right?
Yeah, and to never be lazy, to never do work that is not top notch, to not complain, to help everybody you can, and to always look to help. Don't just think it's going to fall in your lap, but you have to have eyes that are looking, saying, is there something I can do to help somebody?
Is there anything that your grandpa told you that when you were little, your in your mind is like, yes, that's something that you carry to today. You remember what your grandpa told you.
Yeah, oh yeah, so many stories, so many cool stories about fishing with your bare hands in these little pools in the mountains of
Wow.
fresh water that, all the way from that and what you would learn, how to be patient and but he would always say something and I didn't understand at the time until later, but he said, son, no matter what, you're not supposed to, don't criticize people. He says, don't criticize. Don't. If you can do something to help, you help. But don't criticize. And he was so right. It was when we criticize, we enter into a negative frequency, darkness,
Exactly.
and it just is like a cancer, and it keeps growing and growing.
Yes.
And then
yes.
it turns back on you and eats your happiness and your joy.
Yeah, when we criticize other people, basically what that means is I'm better.
Yeah.
You are less
Yes.
good.
Yes.
So this is is like you said, it's a low frequency energy. If we keep criticize other people, is actually you are always engaged with this low frequency, which is what did that say about you?
Yes.
Which means you are living in this low frequency.
Yes.
So yeah, that's awesome. So my question is, if I know your grandfather definitely not here anymore, but how would he describe you? What would he say?
What would he say about me?
Yeah, even when you're little, how, if he's still alive, from his perspective, how would he describe you? What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, that's very.
Yeah, well, I know because we talked quite often, and actually, I spent a number of years in my high school years and one or two after in the college early. I spent living with my grandparents, so we lived in the same house.
Okay.
So we shared a house, so I was able to talk to him at all hours of the day or night. We would be up at 2:00 in the morning cooking, eating food,
Wow.
or hanging out outside. So we were able to really just hang out a lot, and I feel so precious in that. And of course, I'm mostly saying my grandfather, Juan, but also all of my grandparents. They all contributed so much to help our parents They knew that it took family and it took commitment, and mostly commitment. You have just do what you say you're going to do. Don't be lazy.
Yeah.
And always try and help and contribute, and don't criticize, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a negative thing. So he would say he was fascinated once I started to grow and to get jobs and to come home with a car or come home with new shoes. He was just fascinated, like, how did you do that? How did you afford that? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because he was just fascinated by everything. So he was proud of the fact that we were progressing little by little. He would see me 1 year with this and the next year with something that seemed to be a little better and along the right, like we were manifesting good things, Yes. So he would be proud, and I know he would.
He is.
He was. Well, thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. I have to believe that he would be, and so I have to stay hungry. I have to stay focused. I have to stay passionate about what I'm doing and really look at it as a gift of and I feel that too, because and people ask me this, they're like, how can you be positive in a world where there's so much negative? And I say, first of all, don't believe that there's more bad than good. There's not. The goodness of the world and love is holding it together. Without that, we would be completely falling apart.
Yes.
There's always more good.
Yeah.
But the bad is so unpleasant that when it does show up, it seems overwhelming because it's totally against what we are and what our goals are. I said, so first of all, know that there is more good. And second of all, feel that you are here. You cannot be one of the starving people in another place or in a flood zone 1,000, 10,000 miles from here. No, you're here. And if you have something in your power to do something for your neighbor or for him across the street, anybody, look locally first. Focus on spreading love from here outward. That's what you have to do.
That's actually my next question. I was like, because we are in this pandemic to a lot of people, and I kind of really, I wanted to ask you this question when we first started, but now since we talk about that, and then my question is like, how did this CV, I call CV because, to me this word doesn't really matters anymore.
Okay.
How does the CV affect you or your business and your family, and what's your attitude towards this CV right now? Because we talk a little bit, but
and here's where the challenge comes, where am I going to stay in a good frequency or am I going to go to
it's
a bad
challenge,
one?
right?
Yes. So I'm going to stay in a good frequency and say, certain things are within our control and certain things are not within our control, and that's okay because we function every day this way. And I remember talking to you early in this situation, and you gave me some great words that helped me to stabilize and helped me to think rationally.
Oh,
it was so cool. Yes. And the very same day I talked to you, I manifested work. And I think I told you, someone approached me. I asked somebody and they approached me and said, well, we need some, exactly what you do, Domingo. We need this for the next, amount of weeks and months. And I said, wow, that's cool.
How magic when you switch just different, how you want to interact, what kind of energy you want to interact. And it actually, the universe want you to give you what you want, but we got to be on the same frequency. It's like a radio. If we are not on the same channel, how we can communicate?
That's
right. Universe always want the best for you, but are we ready? Are we on the same channel to receive what the universe want to give you what you want?
Right. Yes. Yeah, thank you. And you told me some of those words when I had first asked you months ago about this. So that helped me so much. Yeah, and I mean that. And so that's how I know you're on a mission too. So you keep your mission going. I know you will.
I'm trying, we all try our best.
Yeah.
So I remember that conversation was probably just the quarantine just started, March or April. So we talk about back to that time. I feel like you were kind of a little bit worried about your business, also a little bit financial thing. But now it's already middle of July. It's 3 months later.
Yeah.
Will you tell us a little bit more how things have been changed? Because I personally, I know there's some good news that is happening.
Yes.
Are happening in your life right now. How's your business?
Thank you.
So,
yes. Yeah. Thank you. So when I took your good words and put them into action, and I says, you know what, I'm going to focus. I'm going to relax. And first of all, don't let fear come in, because it is what it is. And so what ended up happening is things slowed down or stopped completely for my business, because I deal with schools primarily, and then my own studio, we have one-to-one, so that was completely stopped. And so I was able to find areas to focus my energy, because I had a lot of energy and stored up for things that we had scheduled. So I was really disappointed in what I thought were lost opportunities, but the opportunities are not lost. They're just not happening right now.
They may be transferred a different way, right?
They're transferred because the relationship is still there. The idea is still there, and the willingness is still there. So it will happen in due time. So once I understood that, I felt better, because we feel we work so hard, and we're working towards goals. And then there's the goal within reach, and then suddenly, boom. Yeah, so I'm thinking, why am I worried? It was never in my hand yet. This is part of the process, you know? Yeah. So once I did that, I was able to focus and start being clear-minded, focus on the opportunities that were at hand. And so we began to focus more on getting things online. And so we had kind of a crash course in online sessions and how that would work. And that seemed to do pretty good. And then also, too, you were saying, you know, of some of the other things that have come out with local businesses. They are doing online sessions, and they want to include us in their packages that they offer. So, like Children's Museum is a great,
I heard about that.
Is a great opportunity, and also schools are starting to prepare for possibly going online, and they want to look at our music program to kind of facilitate that.
Yeah, it's a huge shift for a lot of business, right? A lot of like in-person business, and also they probably haven't established those like online courses. Will be actually, if we look at things different way, we probably have like different opportunities, right? And also it's a help a business, like you have actual classes, but we can also move different format to online, and maybe you know, like instead of maybe half online, it's a help us to grow our business.
Right. Those are very good points, and that's really what starts to happen when you can calm down and become still. You can hear and see things a lot better, and so I've just been channeling my energy.
I love that word, channeling.
Directing, right, and focusing my energy on things that are in my control, things that have to be done anyway. And then so, it's a good time to retouch base with family and friends, put some time and energy into that, and that's good. So that balances out. And also other domestic projects, we'll call it,
Yes. Like, so when you talk about family, I want to bring back the part we talk about, because you mentioned your grandpa, which is a huge impact in your life.
Yes.
And my question is, like, how would your parents describe you? What they would say about you?
That's complicated, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Parents is always complicated.
It's always complicated, Yes. But there's been moments where they have expressed being very proud. Of course, my father and mother are very different from each other, which is kind of typical. This happens, right?
My parents, they are totally different personality, and I could share a little bit more later, but I kind of interesting about like how like each your parent, how they see you, what they would say about you right now.
Yes. So just as it would have it, I'm in more contact with my mom currently. So she has her mom moments, right? Where she's got to say,
I'm a mom, so I know.
You know what I'm talking about, and I understand. So, but overall, she's very impressed and surprised how this even all came about. So, because she always sees me, and she knows I have potential, and she knows that I have drive, and she knows, that they've instilled in me that never be lazy, never make excuses, just do it, And so she knows those are in place. So but she's really fascinated in how it all came out, and we're actually helping people who have special needs. And I said, Ma, and she knows, she's like, you don't even have, you're not a licensed therapist. I said, no, I didn't do any of that. I said, I'm a music guy, but it just so happens that things come together like this. And people realize we need each other. You don't have to do everything by yourself. You can team up, and we can network, and we can bring things together. So, so she's been really surprised about that. And my dad too. He does it. And it's funny because some of our family, they're like, do you even work? I mean, how does this,
Do you even work? How?
Do you have a job? I mean, do you punch a clock? And
no, I punch my own clock.
I punch my own clock, though, and I work with schools too, and at one school, I'm on staff, so they're, but yeah, it's kind of funny. You know how families makes it complicated.
Oh yeah, I can tell you my whole story is about how to run away from your family dad who loved you so much that you did not see. So I totally understand. Okay, so you said that time also you because the part of when I asked you that what was your life like, because you mentioned that your parents or your family didn't really want you to go study music, but I want to know under that pressure, how do you pick up different instruments, and what do you do between whenever the music is part of a passion and before 2005, because that's kind of a little gap there. I kind of want to dig a little bit deeper there.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and it's like I said, it is complex, but it's really interesting that certain memories in your life you can remember very well. Certain you only have maybe just a blur or a shadow of the memory, but it's those moments when all of your feelings, all of your senses are activated that you remember forever, And so I remember, because when I was young, now my dad is a veteran, so he was in the military for a while, and when he came home, things didn't work out between him and my mom, and they divorced. So we were still young.
How old were you when?
I was maybe about 5 years old. Okay. So it's you're very young at this time. So he decided to go find himself, And soul searching, yes, and it lasted for quite a while. Okay, so that's fantastic. It's some people are on different journeys, and so, so in this process, kids you start growing, and kids have to have things to focus on. So I always, thank goodness, we had family members, cousins that were our age, and grandparents, and because when you get to working a lot, parents cannot. It's impossible for one parent to give everything to a child. It takes a lot of family members.
Yes.
So, thank goodness we were able to be creative. So we would make things out of sticks, out of mud, out of rocks. We would ride our bikes and make bike trails, and you name it. Make forts out of big cardboard boxes, all this stuff. I really appreciate that kind of growing up, because it really does teach you. Yes. And I remember one rainy day, I was probably about maybe 8 years old. No cousins around. I think I stayed home from school. Grandma was babysitting me, and I was by myself, and I remember feeling so bored. I'm like, it's raining outside, I don't know why. And I'm looking around, and I find this toy saxophone that's maybe one of the little kids left or something. And I said, wow. And it had 4 colored buttons on it. And I remember playing each one and listening to the sounds. And I didn't know about music or anything, but I remember writing down the colors of this and figuring out a song. And I
by yourself?
Yes. And I wrote, of all songs, it's so funny, but it's what they call taps in the military. It's from war movies, watching all these movies with my grandparents. It's the bum 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 bum. When somebody dies, they play this, and this is the song that
You figured out how to play that first place.
I figured out a death song, my first song.
That's actually beautiful. Death is celebration. We treat death as something really bad, but that's how I see it. So everybody's different, but.
That's why we're friends, you see? That's why I need to hear that, because I'm like, why? What is the meaning of this? So anyway, I remember that was a very powerful moment for me, because I couldn't explain anything, and no one else knew that I did this. And when I went back later to find the saxophone and the little paper, it was all gone. Grandma had cleaned it up and said, "This is a mess.
Yes.
Get it out of here." So I was like, wow. And so I did not have any musical moments like that until I was 12. So all these years went by. Excuse me, and I still remember this. And when I was 12, a friend of my mom's brought a guitar over to a dinner or something, and she says, "Oh, I'll have to show you how to play a couple of notes." And I said, "Thank you." And I fell in love with that. She told me to play a couple of strings and a couple of notes, and I stayed there the rest of the night and made like 14 variations of those notes she showed me. I said, and I played them for her, and she goes, "Well, you know what? You can borrow the guitar for a while. I'm not playing it, and you seem to enjoy it." So it was a big, gigantic guitar, so difficult to play. I remember my fingers were sore, but I didn't care, and I kept playing and playing. She came back, I learned everything she showed me, and she just said, "Just keep the guitar here."
Wow.
And so I started playing, and then I heard rock and roll, and I heard all that stuff, and I said, "Wow, I really like this." And I just saved up $30. I bought an electric guitar from some kid at school. He gave it to me on the school bus. I gave him the $30. He gave me the guitar.
When was that?
This must have been about, I was about 12, about 12 and a half years old.
So after your mom gave you that guitar?
Yeah, after my mom's friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, she let us use the guitar, and I said, "Wow." And then I heard the electric guitar, so
you got that on the school bus, then I gave him $30.
Yes.
That time $30 is a lot.
A lot of money.
Oh my goodness.
So by the time I was 14 and a half, I was playing in a band with some guys that were in their 20s.
Wow.
Yeah, because I really put a lot of time, and I couldn't stop, and I started learning all the songs. And I was playing at a friend's house, and some big guys came in. They said, "Wow, you want to be in the band?" I said, "Sure." And so I was in the band. And so from the time I was about 14 and a half all the way until 20, 21, I played in rock and roll bands. So I was 15 years old playing at these big parties and, drinking pop, and everyone is partying.
Pop, I thought you were going to say drink.
No. I didn't want anything to do with that, because I was like, I don't know what's going on. And so I was playing at these college parties and at these and afterwards we made a couple of bucks. We'd go get some French fries and cheeseburgers and buy more guitar strings, and we'd do it again the next weekend. So
wow,
it was quite a learning experience.
Yeah, that was like, what, 7-8 years of your life?
Oh, yeah.
Weekends?
In those kind of groups while I was still in school. So I was still in high school. And so I would come to school Monday morning very tired from playing all weekend, being 9th or 10th grade. So, and then after I graduated, I pursued music. I fell in love with playing live and playing guitar. So I started playing in a variety of bands. I ended up playing in a group that went through a booking agency. So we played all over the state of Michigan, some northern part of Ohio. And we played really nice weddings and banquets and hotels and golf resorts and surprise anniversary parties and you name it. We have played we played Camp Fishtails, which was early on. This was a camp where there was special needs kids, and they were sitting right in front of us, and we're used to playing big audience.
Yes,
and
cheering.
Yeah, and so we played this little group. It was the best thing, one of the best things I've ever done, and that changed my life that day too. So it opened up my eyes. Maybe it was preparing me for later.
Yeah, that's probably the seed planted. Now I'm, I don't know. Maybe we're just talking. Maybe we have this aha moment. We're like, why did this thing happen to me? And years later, I was, no wonder I'm mad at the person. It's because for this reason, right?
Right.
So I was trying to I really, because I didn't know the story you just told me about before 2005, because we always talk about your business and where you started. So it's kind of fascinating for me to understand where you come from, your experience. And I was like, I always want to ask, what is that, a moment you're like, okay, this is the area I want to go, right?
Yes.
So do you think that would be one of the?
I think so. I think now that you look back, you're like, wow, that made such an impact on me. And we were talking about moments when you remember when you're fully stimulated, all your senses are activated. And when you're playing music, all your senses are activated for sure. And
Yes.
so I remember a lot of feelings while I'm playing.
Yeah.
And that was one of them. Just how much.
That was when was that?
This would have been, oh man, so maybe 10 years, 12, 15 years ago.
Right before you started?
Shortly before. And then
okay.
within 2 years after that, I decided to stop performing all the time because, I mean, I didn't mind. I like it. I was usually a lead singer and guitar player. Play a little keyboard and other miscellaneous things. But our band was a duet all the way to a 4-piece band. So we could play, there was times we would play a wedding and we played the ceremony in the church.
Yes, yes.
The dinner music, the seating music, and then after party. So we were there the entire day.
Yes.
And playing music for these people, all the way from the soft music to dance, and so it was a lot of work. But I was able to make a living and support a family. So
yes, that's really cool.
Yeah, and so I took it very serious, and so did the people we played with, and they were top-notch musicians. But I gave them a year. I said, I don't know what it is, but I need a change. And I said, guys, I'm going to give you 1 year in advance to say 1 year from now I'm going to be done.
Wow.
So anything we book, because typically a band can book all the way a year in advance. I didn't want to leave them hanging. I said I will fulfill everything I said I would up to this point. So don't book anything past a year from now because I'll have to take a break. And I don't know whether they thought I was joking.
They didn't listen?
But I reminded them, I said, don't forget. And so they kept trying to book, and I said, guys,
I'm serious.
I'm serious. I said, I know, I'm sorry. It doesn't seem like, it seems like untimely for you, but for me, it has to happen. And so I did it, and I wasn't too popular for a little while, but fortunately, real friendships, after a little while, they come back to where, they need to be. So they got over it, and then I'm glad I did that because I needed to focus. And I thought, fear is not going to stop me because how am I going to make money? That was my main. So I just says, I don't know, but I know a year from now I'll know.
Okay. So when you told them you're going to quit a year later, did you take some time off or if you take time off, how did this music come up? Because something's going to happen, right?
Something's going to happen, yeah. So I knew that as the time started to get closer to the year, I started to have more clarity. I started to say, well, I think I'm going to focus more on teaching music. I'm going to find a spot, develop a home base, and start to teach because it helps people. I love to do it, and I think I can get this going. So as that started, so I knew that I started to transition in that. I didn't know at that time that that's what it would be more, but because I was tutoring a little bit on and off, mostly advanced students, mostly guitar, or voice, guitar and voice. And so that's what ended up happening. And then once I said I'm going to focus on teaching, I knew that it was headed in the right direction. And then from searching deeper and having experiences, the color keyboard music system was born for me. And I began to branch out from there. And all these other avenues began to open up, which I had no idea. I just knew I was willing to do something, and I wanted to do something meaningful. I didn't want to feel like I spent my whole time just chasing after money, just chasing after fame or popularity, or chasing after material things. I'm like, that's emptiness to me. I need to feel like I'm helping people heal, helping people change their lives for the better.
Yes.
And helping them experience good experiences and good feelings.
Yeah, when we have put this intention out there, universe is like, oh, he is ready. Let's deliver the things that it's supposed to. He's calling instead of sometimes we gotta go chase external like money, like your position, all these things. But when you're ready, universe gonna deliver.
Yeah.
But when they deliver, we gotta be ready to receive.
Yeah.
We gotta be clear, very clear of this is what I want. Things come, you take it, and you just, you put your time and effort inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And now that I think back, I'm thinking, there was probably times that the calling was there.
Yes, but you didn't.
There was no way. Yeah, I would not even recognize the voice.
Yeah, too much things going on around us, right?
Yeah, I was too distracted.
Busy, people ask you to do things, and a lot of time we just do the things people ask us to do. And I feel like I spent years of listening to other people tell me what they want me to do, who they want me to be, or not saying they've been telling me, but I'm listening from like external instead of my inside my heart.
Yes.
And to the point you're like, wow, that's something just doesn't really like resonate with me anymore. You start to thinking about, what's the true calling? What's the true voice? Where it's come from, right?
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point there. That is, because a person such as yourself who possesses great talents and skills, and then also with my musical talents and gifts, people will try and control you, and that's something that I still have to deal with. Of course, that I believe that never goes away.
No.
But maintaining your let's just say your freedom to be yourself, freedom to be yourself, maintaining that takes care, because you can't be too relaxed about it, or you can't be too overzealous about it. You just have to be and know that type of energy coming towards you is something that's destructive in a lot of ways. It's not constructive.
Recognize that. Be aware of that. That's the first step. Then we always got to remember that we have free choice to choose whether we want to interact or you don't want to interact.
Yes.
And if you feel something toxic next to you, you got to make the harder decision.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you don't free up your energy, the good things the universe is going to deliver to you never going to come.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, and that should never be mistaken for what tolerance is. Tolerance is different than allowing someone to control you, and then because you become toxic. There's no way toxic towards that energy. You become toxic.
Boundary, right?
Yeah.
We always talking about self-love and set the boundary to recognize what is serve you, what doesn't serve you, what serve you, what does not serve you.
Yes.
Then if something does not serve you, you gotta release it. Yes. I want to go back a little bit, because since my podcast is like unity through diversity.
Yes.
And obviously your ancestors come from the other countries. So my question is, through like younger, early ages when you grow up, do you have encountered any of, or how do you see yourself as recognized as something, somebody is different from your, younger, like a majority group here, and how does that affect you and how you see this right now? Because we are at a point of, actually, to me, I feel there's a lot of separation going on.
Yeah.
To me, I don't see any, color things. I already know I'm different, and I love myself being different. Yes. So I kind of want to know, like, how, is there anything dramatic happen in your childhood, and how do you see this right now?
Yeah, that's a very good point, because it is very relevant right now. This country and the world probably is going through a transition, and the division has heated up in a lot of areas.
Yes.
But also, too, like we said, we can't believe that is the only thing happening, because also walls are being broken down too. People are learning to come together. So there's the small people that are fueling the fighting, and there is a large amount of people saying, "Hey, we don't want anything to do with that," and they're making it known, and I think that's beautiful. It's kind of like when there's a forest fire, all the animals start coming out. Everything starts leaving in the fire. It's burning, but you don't see the bear trying to hunt doing this. He's running right along next to the deer. Because they're both trying to survive. And I think that brings out something now, that we are, as we're all kind of getting away from this and not letting that fire consume us, we're looking next to us and saying, wow, there's somebody I might not have expected. I thought that they'd be in the heat, but here they are. And they're coming out saying, I don't want anything to do with this either. So
that's a really interesting perspective. I love how you put this as the wildfire and everybody running. Doesn't matter you're a lion, bear, or a bunny, or whoever. Right. We all animals, right?
Yeah, sure. We're very close. We're very much in touch with the animals. They're here for a reason too, to share the planet and to teach us. I
Yeah,
learned
it's
so much.
like different ecosystem. If animal is ecosystem, but we rely on the animals.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. Yeah.
So we are part of.
That
Part of the whole.
you know I'm a panda. You know that, right? You already
What
know
am I?
this.
I don't know. I haven't really put myself. Oh, I'm puma.
You're a puma. Yes, puma. That's awesome.
Run fast, climb the tree,
Strong.
freedom.
Yeah.
Don't get too close to me. But I'm joking.
Yes. You're a hybrid animal. You're a mix of many things.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah. So I mean, really though, so in the midst of that, I'm trying to again say, you know, there's more love in the world than there is hate. So I'm trying to not be pulled into, because people will try and drag you or
the fear.
coerce you into being their and part of their group, so they don't have to be accountable, I believe, in certain ways, or they don't have to try hard to understand, and they don't have to change, because some people don't want to change. They just want everything to be the same, just like it's always been, and we don't want to do anything, and we don't want to hear any new ideas. We don't want it. No, you know what I'm saying, and of course, probably out of fear, they don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So they want to pull you right in there, and this is family, friends, people you don't know, but really,
Like how do you dealing with this like negative, if they are talking certain things, say, hey, Mr. Domingo, what do you think about this thing? Or they try to say, oh, why you think this way? How you respond to those type of questions?
Yeah, thank you. I will usually say, well, I would suggest to look deeper. If you're really searching, look deeper and look for the motives behind the surface.
Yeah.
Who is saying this? Who is putting this out there? And what is the fruit of their tree? Because, you know, and I remind them too, I say, you know, on the appearance, the outer appearance doesn't always match what's going on behind the scenes. For example, I don't get involved with political talks, and I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm not, and I hope I never will be. Nothing offensive to anybody who is, but I just don't feel like I belong to either party. So I don't want to direct my energy towards that, because that to me, I want to be part of love and unity and what's coming out of that. And if I'm one or the other, I cannot be, because a house divided against itself cannot stand. I'm not going to be part of the division. And I do believe that that's being part of the solution. We are living in unprecedented times with technology that now everything's measured. People willfully give up their private information, and it is being used and it is being analyzed. I mean, because there's big money in that. I heard an interesting statistic. It said, was it last year? Last year, the information, the price of information, consumer information, surpassed the price of oil. So information was the number one commodity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy, right?
That's crazy. And the demand, you know, the supply and demand. So there is a demand for this. So every time we load an app and we have to say yes and allow, we are selling our information. That's how it's done.
Is that the reason that you're not really on online thing?
That's exactly why I'm kind of, you know, But, you know, again, I don't want to fear at all, because really, if anybody wants to find out anything about you, it's not that hard, you know.
Yes.
But I just more of I'm just trying to minimize the things that I have to focus on, because I need to focus more on developing more musical programs and updating things, and in the business aspect, as you know, I mean, everything from, you know, answering phone calls and the paying the bills and this kind of thing is very time consuming, and it's my least favorite thing to do is all that stuff, you know. I do love answering calls, don't get me wrong. No, you know what I'm saying.
I was just ask you, I was like, okay, Ms. Domingo, how can people reach you?
Please call me, and I will always return your call. That's my favorite thing to do, is meet people and tell them about what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we do have a website.
Yes. So next thing actually I want to read to, because you know, we reached the time, I kind of want to ask is like, now we are, like, since you said you love unity, right, and we are all part of that, and you are panda, I'm puma, so we are part of this whole system.
Yes.
So what we can do to contribute our unique gift to the collective right now, and I know you do some awesome project right now. Would you just kind of like tell us a little bit more? So and also
Yes.
tell us how to find you if the local family or they want to get involved in these programs.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Thank you. Well, right now we are currently building programs to, like I was saying, opportunities have come up to be online with our services. Obviously, with what's going on with the pandemic and things, so people are thinking about that for the upcoming fall year. Anyone can reach me at any time. If you just visit my website, Musical Lessons LLC.
Or Facebook?
Mm-hmm. Or Facebook,
Yeah.
Maestro Musical. I will be happy to answer any questions or send information. But yeah, we will be actually. We are in talks. Okay, it's early stages because depending on what our social gathering rules will be.
Yeah.
But by this fall, I'm hoping to have a small fundraising concert in place. We want to sponsor children who are less fortunate. We want to sponsor them to go through our mentoring program, and what they will learn is how to be an instructor for musical color keyboard. Yeah, so they will be in charge of their own class and begin to make their own income and begin to make impact on other people's lives to help with team building skills and building confidence and unity. I'll tell you, I could tell you 100 stories. But one cool thing that happens with us when we go into a school, there's always kids who do not get along, obviously, and they go at it, So what we've done is put them next to each other as part of a music team. So they're in the team playing music together, and it's nice to see them slow down and to let the animosity go and work as a team. And then, of course, after class, they can go fight all they want.
But that's a good moment, right? At
Those
least
are good. Yes, and it's funny because at the beginning of the year we have seen that, and by the end of the year, these kids, strangely enough, are at peace with each other. They're kind of friends now, and so because we just believe in making it exciting and not just a boring music class, but give the kids something they can be excited about, and good sounding stuff too. Ear candy. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. That I think this is perfect, ending for the podcast part. And since we're talking about practicing, are we gonna move on the keyboard that using your color system that to see whether I can pick up
Absolutely.
certain
Yes.
skills, because I want to tell audience is like I sent my girls, both of them, last year. And I was always fascinating. I was like, what is coloring system? And I always wanted to play at least one of the instrument.
Right.
I don't want to be like super good, but at least because I could not read notes. So I was like, if this coloring system could actually help me to, from zero knowledge of music, to actually can look at whatever the color system is and play a piece of the music, I would be really happy, and I would love to spend more time in on practicing, and actually eventually maybe one day that I can play the whole song. So we want to try that to see if I pick up like the song I never really know, and then from the coloring system to see how long it can take me to use the coloring system.
Well, I accept your challenge.
Okay, let's see.
It sounds like a challenge. It sounds like a good. I love these because, yes. Why don't we do this? Why don't we will get you set up with a song, and then can I invite myself back to your podcast later to see how things turned out?
Oh yeah, you are welcome anytime. You are my first guest here as my new podcast, and he's been such a good friend and such a the person that really supports any idea that I talk to him. He's like, yeah, great, Gina, go for it. So I really appreciate your friendship, and of course, So thank you so much, Mr. Domingo, and I know that I would definitely gonna invite you back, and you can drop in anytime if you want to.
Gina, thank you. And if I could just say thank you so much. And I'm sure all your listeners are really gonna, if they don't know you yet, as they get to know you, they're gonna love you, as I do, and so many people do. And your fresh energy that you bring, and your ideas, and just your presence is really really just such a pleasure to be around, and I thank you very much for having me as your guest.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Unity Through Diversity. I will see you in next episode coming soon. Take care, and I love you.